I'm Zakky Amirul Hakim from Dinamika University. I'll bring you today's debate. Today's motion was this House believe that the feminist movement should be aggressively oppose, especially the K-pop industry. I will give you a flash of the government statements before I'm going to my debate. So, first of all, K-pop industry, as stated by the government, create standard to women about what beautiful is. And this standard is not created by the K-pop itself. I will explain later on my debate. And this standard is actually pressurizing the woman to be fit into the standard of a society. In this case, is a K-pop standards. This kind of thing creates insecurities to women who wants to fit into this kind of community. And as we know, current changing behavior of human, add with BTS / this kind of industry, profit-oriented, makes matter worse. If we relate this kind of thing in relate condition, if someone as a woman tries to work or they have relationship with a company that, and they need to follow the current changing behavior of their customer, this means that they have to physically following or at least trying to know the cult of the K-pop itself. And this is not what we as a feminist really agreed on. Women should have empowering themselves rather than following the cult of what's happening now in the society. Also, K-pop, because of this, as we know before, harming the feminists because of the way that they try to liberalization this kind of thing. Because they put their standards against the mainstream K-pop, this could lead to objectification of a woman. And this objectification could lead to feminists that already work hard to maybe they have supporting some way of community education and other kind of so forth. It could be discriminated by those guys who actually put their objective based on what mainstream media right now, and that's the K-pop industry. As we know, feminists already work hard to support the community. Like, for instance, we support them from the educational side. We have a special room for girls in what do you call that? Trains. So they have a special cocoon, so they don't get obliterated by males or other kind of form that they just don't agree to see certain human beings. And this, all of that we work that put on to save the feminists could be broke by just of the generalization of the K-pop itself. This is why we are supportively trying to eliminate those cult from our society. As we know, we are living in a patriarchal society. Like, we're trying to, we're giving options, not banning the society. But in this case, there's different things that we as a feminist need to be considered of why we should ban this thing. First of all, society use what's the most famous as a role model. We could see this as Justin Bieber's, as Kardashians, or maybe other kind of other kinds of celebrity that they used to portray. And why they did this, why they use this thing as a role model? Because we're human. We naturally follow what's on the cult or what's happening right now in the society. And because of that, those people, celebrities, or in this case, K-pops, they try to follow what consumers, what their demands, because if they're not trying to follow those things, they will lose the competition. And they need to stay up ahead in front of the competition just so they can get the ratings, their support, can make money, and they could be stay ahead in the game. This is why it gets to the bad side. They will use demand that society wants. I'm gonna extend this thing. What means demand means? So if I'm, let's just take a case. If I'm the K-pop, I will follow what my society wants. If they want me to have a, like for For instance, having a kid, because having a kid maybe could bring some audience. I will do that. I will do stuff that that's the demand of the society. This is why we oppose to this kind of K-pop industry. They could do anything and our society still be okay with it. For instance, they can put whatever they want. Okay, this is why they are using plastic surgeries. They try to manipulate their bodies, or maybe they're doing weird stuff so they could stay ahead of the game. They could be whatever they want, they can be whatever they want, and we as a normal guy still sees that as a normal thing to do. In the end, it's the demand that will win the competition, and we as a society, as a normal guy, who took it bad tolls, especially in here as the feminists. So we, as the member of the government, we are totally not pushing, or we are totally banning the K-pop industry. Thank you.
Hello judges and adjudicators. My name is Firdaus Adam Friska from University of Dinamika. I'm the third and fourth speaker for the opposition team. So let's summarize everything. As my second speaker mentioned earlier, that there are some arguments that were brought into the case. So K-pop is not about beauty, but it also includes dedication and commitment and talent to the agency. Like as the third speaker of the opposition team, I'm going to summarize the statement of the second speaker and the first one. So first of all, K-pop has nothing to do with feminism. Like as the first speaker said earlier, the government team brought up that in Miss Universe, which really support their feminist operation because they don't care about the looks, even the winner from Africa, because she was talented. Yeah, actually K-pop is the same thing. They don't really care about the looks as long as you have something to offer, something valuable that you can offer to the agency, whether you have a really strong charisma that people like your character for. Since also beauty is relevant and it's really relative. You cannot, like, there's no solid definition for pretty and handsome. So, and which means that the government team failed to understand how K-pop agency actually work. And agencies are organizations supporting demands in society. Like K-pop agency like JYP Entertainment, as an example, they held a live conference when they select their new trainees for the next season of the music. So it's the leader of JYP itself, he did not state or clarify that it's not objectively and solely chosen by the looks, because dedication and commitment is what matters, because a lot of K-pop idols just stops midway when they're on the roof, and that's what is the current problem in K-pop industry. It's not about looks, it's about commitment and dedication. So it really defied the explanation coming from the government side that they stated earlier, and because the argument was really misdefined by the first speaker of the government team, which we are going to wrap everything in this third and fourth moment by the second speaker of the opposition team, which result in a poor scope of K-pop that were delivered by the first speaker of the government team. And to be exact, K-pop is a music genre. So K-pop also have male singers that require certain looks. Also, the government team again failed to define beauty because they themselves objected beauty by physical fit, and they completely misdefined about beautiful, handsome, pretty, because that's what they said earlier in their argument and statement. And also for the for the second speaker of the opposition team, I'm gonna summarize what he said earlier. So moving on the second speaker redefinition of the opposition team, explaining about the mechanism, how K-pop industry works. So as a second speaker from the opposition team said that K-pop industry really don't care about how people look. They are only after your commitment and strong charisma and uniqueness that every people can offer when they're applying on the agency. And there's actually no discrimination about how people look, because let's say K-pop instead of Korean pop, but meanwhile K-pop is also huge, the scope. There's also solo K-pop singers. It's not always girl band and boy bands that people see. They also misdefine that K-pop is not always about girl band and boy band. And if we were to bring the corporation standard, since we're talking about K-pop agency, means K-pop is also an organization or a corporation that they have certain standards for the people who are going to work for them, because they are working as an idol, they get paid for it, and literally if they are signing up for it, means they're up for the job that the agency has to offer. And okay, let's say let's take an information technology field as an example. Companies, they really don't care about how you look, male, female. They really don't care. They only care about the performance when you code in the company. So let's say there's a bad coder in the company and they didn't get accepted because the skills are still lacking. Of course, you cannot blame the IT company for discriminating them because they have no skill and all. They don't give chances, because that is how organizations work. They are a profit organization looking for profit. They have certain standards so that the company doesn't accrue any losses. And let's say back to the Korean pop definition. Korean pop, it's not even meant for Korean. It's actually international, that the second speaker of the opposition team said. Like, if you bring Blackpink Lisa, she's not even Korean. She's from Thailand, but she got accepted. And there's even an Indonesian trainee that got accepted into the K-pop industry, and he's not even Korean, and he got into the male category of the K-pop boy band, which really goes against what the first speaker of the government team said earlier, to define that feminist operation surely wants to oppress K-pop, because it just doesn't make sense, because they are not defining the stuff properly. They're just probably unrationally measuring how K-pop agency works. They don't really aim for the big scope of the K-pop operation, because they only took partial of it. And so back to the industry again. Like, people can't be mad if they are rejected by the company itself, because back to the definition again, it's just simply not made for the people who got rejected. Let's say if you're not good at programming, then you are not supposed to work in the programming companies. Let's say you have decent looks, means you might have the disadvantage at working for them. So yeah, ladies and gentlemen, status quo is K-pop, which leads into an organization corporation aspect, means it has nothing again to do with feminism, and that's why we as the opposition team proudly bring the argument. Thank you very much.